Every fossil is a message that took 100 million years to arrive. Most of that message is missing, but every so often the rock gives up enough of the story that we have to rewrite everything we thought we knew. Dr. Raina Okafor said, "People think we already know what dinosaurs looked like. We don't. We're still finding out. Every year, the picture changes." This is the story of 4 discoveries that are forcing scientists to tear up the old textbooks. A swimming predator bigger than T-Rex, a giant with feathers, a duck-billed monster nobody could explain, and a graveyard that changed how we see the deadliest hunters in history. In the deserts of North Africa lie rocks laid down along the edge of a vanished river system, 95 million years old. Dr. Okafor said, when the first bones of this animal turned up over a century ago, nobody believed the description. A sail on its back taller than a man, jaws like a crocodile. It didn't fit any category we had. The original specimens were destroyed decades ago, lost in a museum bombing during wartime. For 60 years, this dinosaur existed only in drawings and memory. Field collectors said, "The nomads here have always known this rock holds bones." They would show us pieces they'd found years before, kept in their homes like treasure. A new expedition, working from fragments and long-lost notes, began piecing the animal back together, bone by bone, decade by decade. Dr. Okafor said, what convinced us this animal was different wasn't the sail, it was the tail. The vertebrae had these tall, paddle-shaped extensions running almost its entire length, like the tail of a giant newt. A tail like that is a paddle, and a paddle only makes sense for one reason. Dr. Okafor said this wasn't a dinosaur that waded into water occasionally to cool off. Everything about the skeleton, dense bones, a tail built for propulsion, nostrils set high on the skull, points to an animal that spent much of its life actually swimming. At over 50 feet long, it may be the largest predatory dinosaur ever to walk or swim the earth. Longer than Tyrannosaurus rex, longer than Giganotosaurus, and built for a world of rivers, not open plains. Dr. Okafor said, we spent a century imagining dinosaurs as strictly land animals. This one single skeleton broke that assumption completely. In a province in northeastern China, ancient volcanoes did something no desert ever could. They buried animals instantly in fine ash, preserving details that normally rot away in minutes. Dr. Liam Preston said, when farmers first started finding slabs here with feather impressions on small dinosaurs, everyone assumed feathers were a small animal trick, useful for tiny, quick creatures, irrelevant to anything large. Then came a sack of bones from an animal nothing like the small feathered dinosaurs before it. Dr. Preston said, the first thing that told us something was different was the size. This wasn't a turkey-sized animal. Individual specimens were pushing 30 feet long, over a ton in weight, built like a tyrannosaur relative, but preserved with the ash still holding faint traces of feathers along the tail, the arms, the neck. A predator the size of a city bus, insulated in shaggy plumage. Dr. Preston said, it forces an uncomfortable question. was young Tyrannosaurus itself covered in down. We don't have direct proof either way, but we can no longer assume the answer is no. The climate here in the early Cretaceous ran cooler than the tropical world most dinosaurs are imagined in. Feathers here weren't decoration, they were survival gear. Dr. Preston said, every dinosaur illustration for the last century drew these animals with bare reptilian skin. This fossil is quietly rewriting that image, one filament at a time. For over 50 years, 3 pairs of enormous claws sat in a museum drawer in Mongolia, unattached to any body. Each claw was 2.5 feet long. Nobody knew what kind of animal they belonged to. Dr. Soraya Vance said scientists guessed at everything: a giant clawed sloth-like dinosaur, some kind of specialized fish eater, even a slow-moving scavenger. Without a skull, without a skeleton, it was pure speculation for decades. Then, in the same desert basin, 2 more complete skeletons turned up, and what they revealed was stranger than any of the guesses. Dr. Vance said the skull had a broad, flat, duck-like bill, completely toothless. A tall sail of vertebrae ran down its back. Its hips were wide enough to carry enormous bulk, but its feet were surprisingly small for its size. A toothless, humped, duck-billed giant with the claws of a nightmare, related to the raptor family, but nothing like any raptor before it. Dr. Vance said its stomach contents told us the rest. We found fish scales and what looks like gizzard stones, smooth pebbles it swallowed to help grind food, the way modern birds do. Not a predator at all. A slow, lumbering forager, wading through ancient rivers, sweeping up fish, plants and shellfish with that strange flat bill, using its giant claws not to kill, but perhaps to hook vegetation or defend against attackers. Dr. Vance said it's a reminder that evolution doesn't always build the sleek, obvious predator or the elegant grazer. Sometimes it builds something we simply wouldn't have guessed until the bones insist on it. In the badlands of the American interior, a bone bed was uncovered that didn't match anything in the textbooks, because textbooks said this animal didn't behave this way at all. Dr. Henry Osei said, for generations, tyrannosaur relatives were drawn as solitary killers, loners. The image was always one huge animal, alone, stalking through the brush. But in this single quarry, excavators kept finding the same kind of animal over and over at wildly different sizes. Dr. Osei said, we counted individual toe bones, jaw fragments, skull pieces. By the time we finished, we had evidence of at least a dozen animals, from a juvenile barely the size of a large dog to a full adult twice that length. A single predator dying alone is common. An entire age range of the same predator dying together is almost unheard of. Dr. Osei said geochemical testing on the bones showed they all carried an identical signature, meaning they were buried together in the same event, not washed in from different places over time, which leaves one explanation standing. This wasn't a coincidence, this was a group. Dr. Osei said, if you have a mixed-age group of large predators moving and dying together, the simplest explanation is that they lived together, which means they may have hunted together. Pack-hunting killers 25 feet long, coordinating in the shadow of the biggest predator ever to exist. It's an image that would have seemed absurd 20 years ago. Dr. Osei said, "We keep assuming we understand these animals because we've been drawing them since childhood. Sights like this prove how much of that picture was guesswork. A swimmer where we expected a walker, feathers where we expected scales, a forager where we expected a killer, a family where we expected a loner." Dr. Okafor said, "Every one of these animals survived for 100 million years without needing our permission to make sense." Dr. Osei said, "The truth was always sitting in the rock. We just had to be willing to be wrong about what we thought we knew." The age of dinosaurs isn't finished being discovered. It's only just begun.